Hello, Croteens. I wanted to just make a video to get you guys started. I don't want you to stress about the content that I'm doing today. Most of it we did, actually all of it we did in grade 9. So, ek weet klomp van julle het nog nie julle handboeke nie. Maar vir die van julle wat het, dit is op bladsy 9 tot 17 in julle chemie handboeke. And then if you don't have yours yet and you didn't receive a pack of notes when you came to pick up your textbooks, I uploaded them, or Ms. Hofmeyer uploaded them for you on your classroom. So gaan kyk net, daar is notas oor materie en materiale. So jy kan dit gebruik om so lank aan die gang te kom as jy nog jou handboek het nie. As jy al jou handboek het, sal jy nou sien dis nou julle eerste jaar wat jy hierdie notas kry. These notes are very useful because at the end of a module you can go back and that is all of the important stuff that we did summarized already. So you don't have to go and make an extra summary. So, al het jy jou handboek, gebruik nog steeds hierdie notas terwyl jy aan die gang kom met jou werk. Okay, goed, so ons begin hierdie jaar met materie en materiale, matters and material. So, we started last year with that as well. So it's all your elements, your substances, your compounds, jou homogene mengsels, jou heterogene mengsels, periodieke tabel, al daai goed wat ons laas jaar gedoen het. So if you look at the notes that you have on Classroom, we don't start on page 1, we start on page 4. So jy kan soontoe blaai en dan gaan ek net vir julle 'n paar goedjies uitleg en julle kan dan 'n dag of 2 spandeer om net lekker rustig deur dit te werk en dan gaan julle 'n toets skryf as julle terugkom. Maar moenie stres daaroor nie, dit gaan oor die elemente wees. So work that you did in grade 9. Okay, so when we are working with the classification of matter, you have to distinguish between a mixture and a pure substance. So ons gaan kyk na mengsels en na suiwerstowwe. Wanneer ons praat van mengsels, moet jy verder onder hom kan onderskei tussen homogene en heterogene mengsels. So ons gaan aan die een kant mengsels hê en hy gaan verder opbreek in homogene en heterogene. En aan hierdie kant gaan ons suiwerstowwe hê. En hom gaan ons verder opbreek in elemente en verbindings. So elements and compounds for the pure substances. Okay. Goed, julle kan mooi gaan kyk na daai verskillende definisies van dit. En dan wanneer ons praat oor mengsels, is hierdie spesiale ene wat julle ook moet ken, 'n alloy, 'n mengsel van metale. So a mixture of metals is called an alloy, and that is a homogeneous mixture because you can't distinguish between the copper and the iron in that mixture. But they are not bonded together chemically, it is just a mixture. Okay, dan wanneer ons praat van 'n suiwerstof, dit is nooit 'n mengsel nie en 'n suiwerstof het spesifieke eienskappe. So the melting point, the boiling point of a certain substance, let's say oxygen or water, is always the same for that pure substance. So ek sê vir julle weet, hy het sekere fisiese en chemiese eienskappe. Okay, and we'll talk about strength and brittle and ductile and the density and the melting points in more detail later. Goed, dan het ek vir julle gesê suiwerstowwe kan opgemaak word uit elemente of uit verbindings, so elements or compounds. And remember, an element is made up of just an atom. So the smallest particle of elements is an atom. Be careful for these, I'm jumping ahead now. Because we also get diatomic elements. So that is when you have one oxygen bonded to another oxygen to form O2. So the reason we still classify that as an element is because there's not a hydrogen or a nitrogen or something else in there as well. It's only oxygen in that compound. So dit is nog steeds 'n verbinding wat gevorm het tussen hulle, maar ons noem dit nog steeds 'n element. Okay. En dan jou verbindings waar jy nou moet kyk, vorm molecules. So the smallest particle of a compound is called a molecule. Dit is baie belangrik julle het dit in graad 9 gedoen. Okay, elements, you find them on the periodic table en hulle bestaan altyd uit atome van dieselfde soort. They are normally going to be just one except for your diatomic elements. En ons kry monoatomies en dan kry ons diatomies, and an element cannot be broken down into other pure substances. So you can't split, let's say you have a sodium atom, the element, you can't split that up into a helium and a hydrogen or whatever. That is just the element sodium. Goed, wanneer ons kom by verbindings, so compounds, you do not find them on the periodic table, but you find the different atoms that bond chemically to make up that compound. Those you find on the periodic table. So as ons gaan kyk na byvoorbeeld, kom ons kyk hierdie ene is magnesium sulfate. The magnesium, the sulfur, and the 4 oxygens are bonded together chemically. So they're not just sitting next to each other, they have bonds between those different atoms that make up the compound of magnesium sulfate. Same with when we are looking at table salt, natrium chloride. Die natrium en die chloor is chemies aan mekaar verbind. So they can be broken down into the sodium and the chloride. These are actually ions, but we get to that later. Hierdie ene kan opgebreek word in sy magnesium, sy sulfaat, en sy 4 suurstowwe. But we get to that later. And they always have a fixed ratio. Okay, goed, so het is belangrik dat jy moet weet, hy kan opgebreek word in sy elemente wat hom opmaak. Ons skryf dit as 'n hoofletter, and they are made up of different atoms that you can find on the periodic table. Then when we are looking at elements, so within elements, you can break it up into your non-metals, your metals, and your metalloids, your halfmetale. En elke groep van daai het spesifieke eienskappe wat jy moet gaan leer. So we did these in grade 9 as well. So go and look at those, and if you have a periodic table with you, try and identify where we find the different ones again, en gaan maak seker jy weet waar op jou periodieke tabel ons die metale kry, dat hulle gewoonlik shiny is, en dat hulle kan elektrisiteit en hitte gelei en al daai goeders. Okay, so here's the one that I gave you earlier as well, breaks up into those different ones. Physical properties of elements, these are important things you need to know. You need to know whether they can conduct electricity. So conducting electricity is normally metals. Non-metals normally cannot conduct electricity except for carbon. And then metalloids are semiconductors. Met ander woorde, ons halfmetale kan soms hulle elektrisiteit gelei. Okay, and then same with heat and magnetic properties. Go and look at those, and always make sure you pay attention to any elements that doesn't follow the normal rules. Okay, goed. Nou kom ons by die goed wat julle moet leer vir julle toets. Okay, so as julle terugkom volgende week, wil ons julle kennis van die elemente, met ander woorde van die periodieke tabelle bietjie toets. So juffrou het gesê sy gaan vir julle oplaai daai tabel wat julle laas jaar in graad 10 gedoen het, waar julle moes gaan invul het waar mense hom kry op die periodieke tabel en wat sy naam is en wat sy simbool is. So please go and look at these, and remember when you are studying them for yourself, make sure you know which ones are the diatomic elements as well. So gaan skryf hulle sommer vir jouself daarso in. Hier is nog wat jy moet gaan leer. Gaan nou saam met julle almal deurgaan nie. And then this one is just to quickly recap where we find our metals, our metalloids, and our non-metals on the periodic table. Okay, so graad 10 se julle belangrikste werk vir hierdie week is om net bietjie jouself te herinner aan die goed wat ons in graad 9 reeds gedoen het. And then we look forward to seeing all of you next week.